Hey, your boy, it's Mr. Osborne. Hey, your boy. Hey, it's your boy. That was weird. Okay, anyway, hey, hi, how are you? This video is basically just to help give you another resource to profile Indian Ocean trade. This is designed mostly for my 4B crowd because 2A and 3A, I've seen you guys quite a bit. 4B, I don't know who you are. So this is kind of gets you caught up on what we've been doing the last couple days. Just a nice little profile on Indian Ocean trade to give you a place to kind of get a foundational understanding about this trade route system. So just a couple things to go over with it. So these routes, and this is kind of what was the intro slide in class we went over, but these routes were created because primarily Muslim merchants were looking and searching for trading partners throughout Afro-Eurasia. So we know that Islam begins in Saudi Arabia. We know that Islam spreads throughout the Middle East in that period of Dar al-Islam where you have the Seljuk Turks and then you have the Mamluk Sultanate and then the Delhi Sultanate reaching into India. Like this region of the world is Islamic. So these Muslim merchants are seeking to go out and form new communities and new places to where they can trade. And they're going to do that in East Africa, in South Asia, in Southeast Asia, and East Asia. And they're not only doing that for, obviously, monies, but they're also looking to spread Islam. This is a religious faith that is looking to expand. It's looking to grow, much like Christianity is in Europe and eventually into North America and South America. But that's what Islamic traders are doing. They're not only, seeking their own wealth, but they're also looking to spread the faith. And if we know the story of Muhammad, which you hopefully looked into, it's been a while back where we introduced Islam. But Muhammad himself was a merchant. And he was a figure that kind of throughout his life endorsed the idea of hard work for material gain. Now, you give part of that away as a part of almsgiving or giving to charity. It's one of the pillars of Islam. But it doesn't mean you can't seek material wealth, whereas like a faith like Buddhism might frown upon that, saying that shouldn't be a desire of your heart. So in order to make these routes happen, we had to have new transportational navigational technologies, and that's going to be part of what we talked about here. So we're going to look at, let me move my face around here, over here. We're going to look at the causes of Indian Ocean trade, and then we'll look at the effects, so really splitting that two ways, and then we'll do a little profile. So when we look at the causes of Indian Ocean trade, we look at the goods that are motivating merchants to go from place to place. We look at cotton. We look at spices. The slave trade starts to be born in its infancy, basically from East Africa into other areas of the world, and other parts as well, not just through Africa. Ironworks and metallurgy and primitive steel, pepper, and porcelain. For the most part, we're talking goods that are certainly luxurious, or spices or porcelain, something like that, is things that you do not need in life. But of course, if there's demand for them, the people are going to want to have them. But another thing to keep in mind here with the Indian Ocean is that it also is a place where you can ship goods in bulk, okay? Where you can basically move goods in bigger quantities, because you really can't do that over land, because obviously you're going to have more like manpower or camel power or whatever to be able to move that. But on the ocean, you can build a big old ship and move things in bulk a lot easier. So what we do see is the growth of these trade routes because of these luxury goods, for the most part, that motivate merchants to trade them. And we see the growth of areas like Calicut, which was a city in India on the southwest coast that serves as kind of a go-between. I mean, you think about a town that is on the interstate that's kind of evenly split between one place and another. Heck, even my story in Kentucky, when you look at the capital city of Frankfort, the capital was placed there because it's halfway in between our two largest cities. So that, because it was there in that location, it helped grow that city. It's called Frankfurt. And that's kind of the same here. These cities, which were kind of in the middle of the trade routes, start to grow in prosperity because of their location. But another thing that caused Indian Ocean trade was weather. Keep in mind that we're on the open ocean here, and if you do not have a wind source, you're going to be just rowing, right? Otherwise, you're going to sit there because there's no like mechanical source to make your boat go. So what merchants figured out is that the winds that came from the monsoons, right, these giant rain systems that came in and just soaked areas for a season, that those produced winds. And those monsoon winds could propel the ships from place to place. So this is where merchants figure out, okay, if I can sail from October to March from Southeast Asia, from South Asia down to the African coastline, I'm going to do that then, and then I'll have to flip it the other way. So in order to manipulate their ability to travel, they had to depend on Mother Nature to give them those monsoon winds. And then we also have several technologies which make travel possible. So we have obviously the winds, but then you also have the development of what are called lateen sails, which catch the wind, right? And that pushes your boat forward rather than, again, having to row it, right? You're not going to be doing that. So this allows you to use the wind to travel. And then while you're traveling, you just don't want to be at the mercy of Mother Nature. They developed what's called the stern rudder, which gave the ship the ability to determine its own direction. You move that the rudder basically one direction, and it's gonna tell you. You've seen it in movies, like when they're like turning the wheel, "Arr, matey!" Right? All the pirates, and they're doing that. That is turning that rudder so that you can go in a certain direction. And then they also had to be able to tell where they were. They had tools like this astrolabe, which gave them the ability. And this was an invention that came out of South or from the Middle East, but this gave them the ability to measure where the North Star was in the sky and judge it against where the horizon was, and that could tell them at what line of latitude they were. And so that is, if you're going northeast, you knew exactly where you were, right? You knew how far north and how far east, or usually just north, they're judging by the North Star, but they kind of generally knew what direction they were going in, so they were able to determine navigationally how to get to point A to point B. So these tools were important in making Indian Ocean trade possible. All right? Now that we know like these causes, right? Now we look at the effects, okay? Moving my face. There we go. The effects. So because of Indian Ocean trade, what happened? Well, we have the growth of diasporic communities. What I mean by that is this was a community of people, usually merchants, that ended up moving and living in a place different than their own. Diasporic means spread, okay? It means spread. It's a different way of looking at things because instead of having like everybody in their place, now you've got the movement of people because of trade, and these communities form due to people moving around to different locations. So we can look at like Muslim merchants that are living in the Indian Ocean basin. So see here, like this map shows you the growth of Islam, and that's going to get us to our next one. Islam is going to grow in East Africa and in Southeast or South Asia and Southeast Asia because these merchants are moving throughout the world and forming communities in the places that they travel to. You'll get Chinese communities in Southeast Asia and even into Africa. You can see some of the products they'll move along with them. So it is all about the movement of people. Diasporic merchant communities going to different places. Like I mentioned, the growth of Islam throughout the Indian Ocean area. So you'll start to see some Islamic kingdoms. You kind of probably saw that in the Global Tapestry Unit. You saw the influence of Islam there in those areas. But that is certainly something that we see as well. You also have the growth of new states. So because wealth is getting distributed in different places, with wealth comes social structures, class systems, necessity of government to monitor and keep law and order. And because of that, we get new states that are formed. So we have one called Malacca, which is here in Southeast Asia. And basically, this is a city in what we know as Malaysia today, and they controlled the Strait of Malacca, which means if you wanted to go from up here to down here, that was your shortcut. And this city controlled that strait to be able to profit from it. You go through the strait, you stop, you have a bite to eat, head over to the McDonald's, get some gas, get on your way, right? And to be able to go through that, they actually this government taxed that area, so it's basically a toll road, right, to be able to go like from one place to another. You also had the growth of the Swahili city-states, which you see here, And this is these communities that formed. Great Zimbabwe is nearby. It's kind of up in here a little bit. But these cities on the coast, Zanzibar is maybe one you've heard of before, Mogadishu. These cities grow because these merchants are coming to trade at these places. And you have traders from other places in Central and South Africa coming to meet them there, right? So it's all about the growth of cities because of the merchant activity that is growing. All right, so we'll round out here, and I'm going to link this video separate so you can check it out. This is a video about a Chinese explorer named Zheng He. Okay, not he, Zheng He. And Zheng He becomes a prominent figure in Chinese history. And through this context, so the Song Dynasty, which we talked about and studied, has fallen. It fell to the Mongols. You should have, from the Who Are the Mongols activity, you should have seen that. And that Song Dynasty transforms into what's called the Yuan Dynasty. Now, we know that the Mongols, wherever they go, they're chameleons, right? They kind of morph into who they are conquering. So the Yuan Dynasty kind of gets absorbed into Chinese culture. But the Chinese, very traditional, Confucianism, hanging on, right? Still the center of Chinese society, eventually overthrows the Yuan Dynasty about, 89 years later. And you have a new dynasty form. It's called the Ming Dynasty. And the video is going to talk to you about what the early leaders of the Ming Dynasty do and how they use exploration and trade to grow their power. So the video is going to check into these three things. What motivated Zheng He's exploration? What's the furthest he traveled from China? But then one that you need to make sure and hit. Why did China stop Zheng He's expeditions? And a bonus question. What would have happened if they had not? And that's something that as we do review from this unit, we'll probably try to find some time and go back and look at. So why did China stop it? And what would have happened if China had gone on? So I will link this video in the episode 26 folder to help you guys out. And again, Indian Ocean trade. It's good stuff, causes, effects, a little Zheng He action, good times. And we'll move on to our next video here soon.